Are you looking for the best cheap graphics card? In this video we will look at some of the best cheap graphics card on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. MSI Gaming Evoco CRX 5700 XT. With settings maxed out. Cons. Most expensive option. No ray tracing. If you are looking for an all-round gaming workhorse that won't bleed your PC budget dry, then look no further than the AMD Radeon RX 5700. Under the hood, the AMD Radeon RX 5700 features 8GB GDDR6, 14 gigabits per second memory clock, 36 CUs, up to 448 GB per second memory bandwidth, 2304 stream processors, a base frequency of 1465 MHz, a boost frequency of 1725 MHz, one DisplayPort 1.4 with DSC and one HDMI port. The AMD Radeon RX 5700 handles 1440p on max settings with ease, pushing frame rates well above 60 FPS and up to 80 FPS, even for the most demanding games, although graphical settings may need to be toned down to high. We've had to push the definition of the word cheap a little in the case of the AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT, as it does come in more expensive than anything else in our list, but the value here is in just how much the GPU offers for sub $400/$400. The performance nears that of the RTX 2070, which is nearly double the price, although it doesn't feature support for ray tracing. Number 2. AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. If the AMD Radeon RX 5700 is slightly out of your price range, then the AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT is the next best thing. It excels at 1080p, with flawless 100 FPS or more performance on ultra settings in virtually all games, even the most resource-hungry titles out there. As for 1440p gaming, the AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT more than stands its ground with a constant 60 FPS on high graphics settings in most titles. You may find some wiggle room with slightly less demanding titles, which should push performance beyond 60 FPS even at Ultra. Specifications-wise, the AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT has 2304 stream processors, 6GB GDDR6, 36 CUs, base frequency of 1375 MHz, a boost frequency up to 1560 MHz, 14 gigabits per second memory speed, 336 GB per second memory bandwidth, one DisplayPort 1.4 with DSC and on HDMI port. For less than $300/$300, there's little out there that matches the value bundled into the AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT. AMD's fastest 6-core processor for mainstream desktop, with 12 processing threads, can deliver elite 100+ FPS performance in the world's most popular games. Bundled with the quiet, capable AMD Wraith Stealth Cooler. System memory type, DDR4. 4.6 GHz max boost, unlocked for overclocking, 35 MB of cache, DDR3200 support. For the advanced socket AM4 platform, can support PCIe 4.0 on X570 and B550 motherboards. OS support, Windows 11 64-bit edition, Windows 10 64-bit edition, RHL x86 64-bit, Ubuntu x86 64. Number 3. MSI GeForce GTX 1654 GT LPOC graphics card. Our pick for the all-out top 1080p gaming GPU is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Super. While certainly not among NVIDIA's flagship GPUs, the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Super pushes a stable 60 FPS at 1080p with ultra settings for under $250/$250. It packs enough power to handle everything at 1080p but struggles at 1440p and quickly shows its limitations. The NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Super boasts 4GB of GDDR6, 1280 CUDA cores, a base clock frequency of 1530 MHz, a boost clock frequency of 1725 MHz, 12 gigabits per second memory speed, one DisplayPort 1.4a, one HDMI 2.0b, and DLDVID. Much like the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 1660 OC 6GB, the ray tracing performance leaves a lot to be desired, so don't buy for this feature specifically, as you'll invariably be disappointed. Another point worth considering is the limited 4GB of VRAM. This isn't necessarily an issue if you stick to 1080p, but it may throw up some roadblocks for titles with demanding textures and when you lean into 1440p gaming. Chipset: NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650. Boost clock: 1695 MHz. Memory interface: 128-bit. Video memory: 4GB GDDR5. Output: HDMI X1/DLDVI-DX1. Number 4. XFX RX 5500 XT Thick 2 Pro. If you're looking for pure out-and-out value, then the AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT is an incredibly versatile GPU for under $200/$200. The low price tag does mean some limitations, but when it comes to 1080p gaming, the AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT hits all the right notes with around 60 FPS on high graphical settings and even higher if you drop down to medium settings. We found this to be the case with most big-budget AAA games out there, but it does hit some stumbling blocks when pitted against the most demanding games such as Cyberpunk 2077 and Metro Exodus. The AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT does fall short at 1440p, and the results were understandably shaky, but not worth considering within the scope of what this GPU sets out to do, which is to offer reliable 1080p performance. AMD's endowed the AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT with 1408 stream processors, 22 CUs, a base frequency of 1717 MHz, a boost frequency of 1845 MHz, 4GB GDDR6, 14 gigabits per second memory speed, up to 224 gigabytes per second memory bandwidth, one DisplayPort 1.4 with DSC, and one HDMI port. AMD also offers a pricier 8GB variant that allows you to push the settings up to Ultra, although performance will only flirt with 60 FPS in most cases.